Tonight, a hero's reception for a Jetstar passenger who took down an armed intruder. What we know about the teen suspect. Cyclone Alfred lashes the coast. The new warnings and some rare good news. Masked teens ransack a sunshine shop as witnesses watch in disbelief. Festival fury, revellers turned away at the gate after a red tape ruling. Meet the Taylor's Lakes baby born in the front seat of a car. And it's time to put the playbook into practice. Live to the SCG for the season opener.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. There are chilling new details tonight on how a 17-year-old boy stormed a Jetstar flight at Avalon Airport armed with a shotgun and fake bombs. The accused teen faced court today as Barry, the brave shearer, was hailed a hero for bringing the frightening ordeal to an end.
Yesterday, he was Barry Clark, the shearer.
Thanks, Barry.
Tonight, he's Barry the Brave. Given a hero's welcome for his quick actions in an airport emergency.
He needs a medal, that fella. He saved all them people's lives.
The man from Moama saw a gun and leapt into action.
I saw the barrel butt, and when I saw the complete gun, I said, we're in trouble here.
The 17-year-old suspect from the Victorian Goldfields fronted the Children's Court today, accused of storming the flight armed with a stolen shotgun and a fake homemade explosive, declaring, "I've got bombs in my bag." The teen appeared calm and made no application for bail. There's still no indication of what motivated him.
I knew that if I went to the side and pushed the gun away from him, at least if it went off, it would go off on the side of the plane and there was no one there.
7 News understands the suspect climbed through a fence at Avalon Airport shortly before 3 p.m. yesterday, then climbed the stairs to the Jetstar flight and announced himself as a maintenance worker. Witnesses say when challenged, he got angry, and that's when Barry Clark stepped in. Tonight, there are questions about how anyone could so easily gain access to a commercial flight. Unlike Tullamarine, Avalon is a police-free airport.
We're now told that police presence at Avalon is miles away. How can this be?
Avalon's CEO brushed aside security concerns, saying patrols have been boosted there, but
That's really just to reassure the public.
the other hero in this story, the plane's senior pilot, who also helped take the teenager down, he's already back up in the air, with Jetstar commending all of the crew for how they handled the incident.
We're just so proud of our people and the way they acted.
Barry was on the first flight to Sydney this morning. Tonight, he'll be cheering on the Sydney Swans.
I'm going to go and watch the champion win a footy game.
His next trip is on the house.
I think it's fair to say Barry's got free flights for life from Avalon Airport.
We're happy to fly him to any Swans game for the rest of this year.
Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
In breaking news, a driver is missing, feared dead in floodwaters as Cyclone Alfred lashes Australia's east coast, causing blackouts as it bears down on Brisbane and northern New South Wales. Damaging winds and flash flooding are predicted, but the cyclone is expected to weaken when it makes landfall. We have reporters standing by in the storm zones. With the latest information, Angela Cox begins our cyclone coverage.
It is something beyond any storm. A tropical cyclone now knocking at the door.
Definitely feels like a cyclone's coming now.
The weather up here
Definitely got windier.
and definitely got wetter.
We're completely flooded up to our ankles.
It's also got wilder. Out there, you can see it, and up here, you can hear it. Make no mistake, Alfred is arriving and is doing awful damage. This from the back blocks. And have a look here, a family home as good as gone. By the beach, no better.
Wow.
And in the water, all bad. But there is panic too. Long lines for groceries. Catch them while you can. Ditto for fuel, in case tanks run dry. The army's arrived for this war on the weather as everyone pitches in, from the Queensland Premier.
Some of the images that you've seen have made you proud to be a Queenslander.
But some haven't. This man accused of pinching a private generator, as 80,000 homes are tonight in the dark.
A quick update, power lost to Currumbin Valley.
We've got hundreds of lines down across the network.
Repair crews did try, but
It was just too much. It was unsafe.
that's full. Whoa. At the National Situation Room,
Thanks for your work.
the Prime Minister got an Alfred update. It wasn't good.
This is a serious event. We absolutely need to prepare for the worst. Please stay safe.
But tonight, a lucky break.
As the cyclone moves across Moreton Bay Islands, it is expected to weaken from a Category 2 to a Category 1 system. This will mean that destructive winds are unlikely for Brisbane itself.
On the Gold Coast, the canine crowd was back.
This isn't a time for sightseeing.
From the air, Brisbane is eerie and empty. Shops shut. Freeways free. The airport clear. Trains still. Then, on the ground, Alfred eating up the coast as this cyclone makes its mark. Over the border in New South Wales, flood rescues already. Volunteers doing what volunteers do.
Ran towards danger to help keep communities safe.
As residents watch and act.
Literally thousands of people were asked to leave their home. That has happened.
But in Lismore, there is tension too.
There is so much stress and anxiety. I got a spray this morning from someone saying you should have done bloody more.
The flooding's already started. The roads are cut at times. The wind is so strong you can barely stand up. And Cyclone Alfred is still hours away from unleashing its full fury. At Byron Bay, a pub with no cheer after a tree came down. The beachfront here is battered too.
Very nervous, like even the Category 1 makes us nervous type thing. Category 2 is scary as hell.
Angela Cox, 7 News.
Residents on the Gold Coast have just been warned to shelter in place hours out from the cyclone's arrival. Sam Payne joins us now and Sam, conditions are treacherous.
Yes, Mitch, they are. They've been on and off all day. We've had gale force winds, but now as the sun goes down, if you can see behind me, it is beginning to look ominous. Rick Shaw's, a famous restaurant, has been shut down for 2 days now, but surrounding it is sand from all this surge, the ocean, and this froth from what's been going on. If you can look up, you can see Surfers Paradise. There's still people on the beach though. They're still around, even against council's advice. They're taking photos, whereas others, there's power outages everywhere. Further south, just a suburb from here, thousands are already without power, and it's only going to get worse. That's what authorities are warning people. So here's what we actually had a look at today. Check out what happened on the Gold Coast.
70 floors up on Australia's tallest building, and the astonishing force accompanying Alfred's approach is hard to escape. You can really hear it howling, can't you?
Yes.
This is how Nav and Taruna Gupta are riding out Alfred.
Everything in
Like this.
The Gold Coast's famous beaches have not been spared of nature's fury either.
It's a bit crazy.
It's a cliff drop, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy, yeah. People have been falling down.
Here, the life-saving towers are centimetres away from collapse. Gold Coast beaches are prone to erosion, but it is rare to see damage like this happen so quickly. The real concern for authorities, tourists essentially teetering on the edge of this cliff face with no comprehension of how unstable this ground is. The menacing storm has been making an arrival in explosive bursts, and the higher the home, the more
House with no windows and doors. Pretty cozy.
Power is already out for tens of thousands of properties, but it's become too dangerous to send help.
The crews will start work just as soon as they possibly can.
And a warning as night falls again.
It's time to be safe at home.
It's really scary. I'm from Sydney, so I've never seen a cyclone. I've never been in a cyclone.
Alfred may only be a Category 2, but its wrath could be second to none. Annie Puller, 7 News.
Rescue crews are racing to find the missing driver who vanished in floodwaters in northern New South Wales. Bill Hogan has the latest from Lismore. And Bill, he disappeared just south from where you are.
Yeah, good evening, people. The man was in a four-wheel drive when he was swept off a bridge near Dorrigo, which is about 250 kilometres south from where I am. The man managed to climb out of the vehicle and grab onto a tree. He was actually speaking with police when suddenly he was swept into the water, and tragically he has not been seen since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Shocking news as communities right along the coast brace.
We're not even close to being at ground zero yet, and it's already pretty bad.
The great flood survivor ready for another battle.
I think particularly if the people of Lismore, for example, have been knocked down, they get up, they get knocked down, they get up, and now they have this.
At Lismore's Dark Horse Espresso, a final dash.
Going down.
The last business to clear from the CBD, loading the entire cafe into a horse float.
The design of the shop has always been that it's going to flood again.
In South Lismore, no time to rest, as flood-prone homes are cleared again, getting ready to move lives to higher ground.
We're not going to leave until the river is up.
How do you feel about this one?
I don't know because I haven't been through a cyclone.
Lismore University campus has now been turned into an evacuation centre, and not just for people.
Puppy pads, blankets, kitty litter.
But critics say the government is moving slower than Alfred.
For example, in the Byron Evacuation Centre at the Cavern Bar Centre, no sleeping materials, no stretchers.
But reinforcements are on the way. The Defence Force soon with boots on the ground. The SES already out in force. So far, there have been more than 6,000 calls for help as they race against time.
The weather will deteriorate over the next few hours, and then it may be too late to leave.
Water rescue strike teams are on the way to Bellingen, Lismore, Coffs Harbour, Taree and Port Macquarie. They are also bringing extra mobile phone coverage with drones for searches and drop-offs. At Ballina, the lights are off and almost nobody's home. The streets deserted and sandbagged. Those not evacuating are preparing for a long lockdown.
We're just out with the dog trying to get the last bits of not rain so the dog doesn't go insane in the house.
As the Wilsons River continues to rise, the Bureau predicts that by this evening it may exceed the major flood level of 9.7 metres. That will see low-lying areas of Lismore inundated. The concern then will be if it reaches the levee height of 10.5 metres. That will see the CBD inundated. But as Alfred continues to bring more and more rain, the last thing these residents want to see is the flood level of February 2022. And from the cyclone zone tonight, a plea for all Australians to roll up our sleeves.
You can give us your thoughts and prayers, but we need something practical from you, and that is blood.
Bill Hogan, 7 News.
And 7 News meteorologist Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, Alfred's path is becoming clearer the closer it gets to the coast.
Absolutely, Mitch. Alfred is now 75 k's off the coast, and all the modelling has a similar path and timing, giving us much higher confidence. Damaging winds from the Brisbane Islands to the Gold Coast to Byron are set to increase as Alfred nears overnight. Here is the path, with Alfred crossing between Moreton and North Stradbroke Island between about about 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. tomorrow. That is as a Category 2 with destructive winds to 155 k's an hour, possibly brushing the coastal fringe here just southeast of Brisbane. Then Alfred makes landfall on the mainland just north of Brisbane around Caboolture between about 10 a.m. and midday. This may be as a Category 1, so it is only damaging rather than destructive winds. And with this movement, the Sunshine Coast misses it. But there is still so much rain to come, extending over a huge area, inland to the other side of the ranges and even as far south as Sydney and then Wollongong next week. Now, none of this for Melbourne. Instead, we have an extensive period of heat. I'll have those details after sport, Mitch.
OK, we'll see you then. Thank you very much, Jane. A group of masked teens has ransacked a jewellery store in Melbourne's west. Police say 4 youths armed with machetes and bats smashed their way into the Sunshine shop at midday yesterday, stealing $100,000 worth of goods. The owner of the store was forced to run and hide.
As they entered in the store, I just went to my office room and locked the door and again called the police. So I was really hopeless. I thought this is my end point.
But the teens didn't get far. Just hours later, police swooped on an address in nearby Point Cook, arresting and charging 3 of the boys. Thousands of festival goers are fuming over an 11th-hour decision to call off a popular music event in the state's northwest. The annual concert brings millions of tourism dollars to Donald, but it failed a last-minute safety test, leaving ticket holders and the tiny town in limbo.
Lining up for hours in blistering heat, only to be turned away at the gate.
In line, 35-degree heat for 7 or 8 hours, and then got told it was cancelled.
Where have you come from?
Byron Bay. We escaped the cyclone.
The Esoteric Music Festival cancelled at the 11th hour, leaving 11,000 patrons stranded.
You reckon this is safe to go ahead? Give me that permit. They said no, so unfortunately I can't let anybody into the festival grounds.
It's horrible, it's devastating.
The annual festival was meant to start today. Instead, it's a ghost town after a building surveyor ruled it wasn't safe to go ahead.
People flew from Germany to come here, we've got international acts.
It's a blow for festival organisers after council voted against its own planning officers to grant a permit on Monday.
They knew I'd given them absolutely everything I could, and unfortunately I couldn't get it there for them.
Businesses in the tiny town of Donald rely on tourism dollars from the event.
It's not just Donald. I mean, Charlton, they come up the Calder Highway, they come up the Sunraysia Highway, they come down the Sunraysia Highway to get to Donald. It's a economic benefit to the entire Shire.
Now, hundreds of stranded revellers have set up at this nearby campground. Organisers have offered them 2 choices, a ticket to next year's event or a full refund. Jacqueline Stanley, 7 News.
In brighter news, it's taken 24 hours longer than expected, but the AFL season is about to begin. Let's head straight to Rebecca Maddern inside the SCG. And Beck, it's a case of better late than never.
Good evening to you, Peter. After last night's false start at the Gabba, it is officially game on here between the Swans and the Mighty Hawks. Footy reporter Xander Maguire is here on the boundary with me. Good evening to you, Xander. It's really the perfect matchup to start this season, isn't it?
It doesn't get any better than this, Beck. You've probably got the Swans, who were the best team all year last year, barring that grand final hurdle, and they come up against the Hawks, who, despite finishing 6th on the ladder, are expected to be the biggest improvers this off-season.
Yeah, all right, Xander, we'll let you go and do some work, and we'll see you a little later in sport. It's also very good weather here too. Also coming up tonight, Craig McRae's warning ahead of Collingwood's season opener against the Giants on Sunday, and another step towards a dream round 1 debut for a prize young Tiger. That is all coming up as we count down to the first match of the 2025 AFL season. Peter.
Looking forward to it enormously. Thank you, Beck. 2 killer brothers have just learnt their fate for murdering a promising Melbourne basketballer on Bourke Street. The fallout from the Supreme Court is next. Also ahead on 7 News, tow truck crash trouble on the Ring Road. How a midwife talked a new mum through giving birth in a car on Flemington Road. Later, the Melbourne postcodes facing a prostate cancer crisis. Also, Meghan Markle's revealing couch chat with Drew Barrymore. A woman in her 40s has been taken to hospital after a wild pile-up at Derrimut. A truck towing another truck collided with a third truck on the ring road on Tuesday. The woman was hospitalised with minor injuries. No one else was hurt. Killer brothers have each been jailed for more than 20 years for murdering a promising young basketballer on Burke Street. The victim was trying to protect his brother when a night out turned to tragedy.
Tears outside the Supreme Court for a son murdered while he was celebrating his 23rd birthday. Today, Aaliyah Riak's family watched on as two brothers were sentenced for stabbing the basketball star to death in 2022.
Nothing will bring Aaliyah back.
22-year-old Timrat Kassar was sentenced to up to 26.5 years behind bars. His younger brother, Aaron Gebergoris, was sentenced to 25 years with a non-parole period of 19 years.
We, the family, we are very happy. The sentence was very nice, was very good. They increased from 20 to 25 years.
Aaliyah was a promising young athlete, but he was brutally murdered in the Docklands while trying to protect his brother from a gang ambush. Today, the judge told the court these were the actions of cowards. Your crimes were callous, extremely disturbing and unjustified. But the pair had several supporters in court.
Are they sorry for their actions?
We'll get the food.
During the sentence, the brothers appeared dazed and at times had to be woken up by prison guards. After the judge handed down his remarks, the pair were led away right past the victim's family. One relative asked, "Are you sorry?"
They were not sorry, actually. These guys, they're criminals.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A disagreement between two motorists and what appears to be a group of teens on bikes has sparked a wild brawl in Melbourne CBD. One of the riders can be seen smashing the rear window of the car on Elizabeth Street. The occupants then got out to chase down the perpetrator.
Hey, leave him, stop fighting. Get off here, get the car, you
The video has 25,000 views on Instagram since being posted 24 hours ago. A Taylors Lakes couple is cuddling their newborn tonight after a frantic Freeway arrival. They were on their way to hospital when their baby girl had other ideas, with a St Vincent's midwife guiding them through the roadside delivery.
Baby Talia is perfect in every way, but if you ask her parents, her arrival didn't go exactly to plan. Born in the front seat of their car on a major freeway.
And she's like, "The baby's down my leg." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And I thought she was hallucinating in pain and all sorts. And she's like, "Dave, the baby's crying." And then I hear 2 seconds later, I hear, "Wah!"
I didn't even have time to push. She was like, "Yep, no, I'm coming out." All in one go.
Just 2 blocks from St Vincent's Hospital, Dave pulled over onto Flemington Road and made a frantic call to the midwife.
She's telling me, get her out. So I'm trying to pull my pants down and untangle her. And she's, asked if there's umbilical cords around her neck and to unloop that, which it was.
After a visit from paramedics, Lydiana and Talia were taken to hospital, both healthy and happy.
Dr. Guy Skinner rocked up at the same time as well. Yeah. He's like, "Well, work's all done."
Tiger, don't need you, mate. Everyone's done.
They're just so strong together and they've done a great job.
Talia's parents say her birth story is one they won't let her forget. Not only do they have plenty of photos to mark the occasion, they've just discovered their dash cam was rolling the entire time. Now completing their family of 5.
Last piece of our puzzle, that's it.
Yeah.
Geordie Wright, 7 News.
Great news indeed. The world's luckiest solo rower is back in the arms of his wife tonight, and he's got the Australian Navy to thank. Details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, fake Chinese police accused of a chilling kidnap plot in Melbourne. How could it happen? Fighter jets mistakenly bomb the wrong target. And we'll hear from the Pope for the first time since his hospital ordeal began. Fake Chinese police have been accused of a chilling kidnap plot in Melbourne. This is the woman detectives wish to speak to. They suspect she reached out to the 36-year-old female victim, warning her she'd been scammed. The very next day, the woman is accused of turning up at the victim's house before being scared off. Cyclone Alfred has thrown the looming federal election into limbo. The Prime Minister had planned to pull the trigger on Sunday, but the unfolding weather emergency has forced a rethink.
Usually Prime Ministers call elections. This time, Alfred's handling it.
When nature does its worst, Australians are at our best.
The Albanese government has paused announcements and political attacks. For now, it's all about the peril of Cyclone Alfred.
My government is razor focused.
And yet the slowing storm, the wild early winds and expected flooding are about to swamp the last hours in which Prime Minister Albanese can call the widely favoured April 12 federal election. Either the emergency is over by Monday or the election is off until May.
All the planning now would be around a later election date.
In 40 years working on Australian elections, consultant Bruce Hawker says he's never seen a wild card toy with an election date quite like Alfred.
I think this is a unique moment in my memory.
It wouldn't be appropriate for the Prime Minister to call the election this weekend.
The opposition hosing down criticism of leader Peter Dutton for leaving his Brisbane electorate to attend a Sydney fundraiser.
No one can doubt Peter Dutton's commitment to his electorate.
In politics, now is the time to cool it. Tonight, the chances of an April election are slipping fast, though my understanding is Prime Minister Albanese is yet to flatly rule it out. Tim Lester, 7 News.
A Lithuanian rower rescued by the Australian Navy hundreds of kilometres out to sea has returned to shore with first-hand experience of Cyclone Alfred's brutal power. The 44-year-old embracing his wife for the first time since October.
Here's a man who looked Tropical Cyclone Alfred in the eye and lived to hug his wife.
It's a big day for me.
Lithuanian Man Mountain Olramus Mokkus set out in October to row from San Diego to Brisbane, a 12,000 kilometre paddle to raise awareness for the war in Ukraine. With 740 kilometres left, along came the storm.
It's actually wet and blow very strong wind.
16-metre waves capsized his boat, he says, 30 times.
Yeah, it's like cat in washing machine.
With no sun, his solar-powered communications were cut off. He triggered an SOS beacon last Thursday, never forgetting the pledge he made to his family to stay alive.
I keep the promise.
After 4 days at nature's mercy, a maritime safety plane sighted him.
It's no small task finding an object that small in the middle of our oceans.
The Australian Navy did the rest.
The first responsibility of all mariners is to the safety of other mariners, especially those who are in distress at sea.
A second attempt at the row, somehow not out of the question.
Not yet.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
Overseas fighter jets have accidentally bombed a village in South Korea during a live fire drill with US forces, injuring 15 people. 2 houses, a church and a truck were destroyed. The country's Air Force says the pilot put in the wrong coordinates by mistake. It's apologised and promised to compensate for any damage. And Pope Francis has spoken publicly for the first time since he was hospitalised 3 weeks ago. The Vatican shared an audio clip during the evening rosary prayer in St Peter's Square. The 88-year-old with a message to Catholics who've been praying for him in his native Spanish.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the square. I follow you from here. May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you.
The Pontiff remains in a stable condition, fighting off double pneumonia. The hunt is on for a booze bandit accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of alcohol during 31 trips to the Bottle-O. Also ahead on 7 News, a showbiz star sounds the alarm on the Melbourne suburbs facing a prostate cancer crisis. Meghan Markle's tell-all couch chat with Drew Barrymore. And straight after sport, live from the SCG, your pick of the best long weekend activities across Victoria. Police are appealing for the public's help to track down a thief accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of alcohol. Detectives say the man entered a bottle shop in North Melbourne at least 31 times to brazenly steal booze valued at more than $3,000. The thefts took place between February 24th and 25th. Showbiz star Hugh Sheridan has joined a new campaign to get men talking about prostate cancer. He spoke with Nick McCallum.
He lost his dad to prostate cancer. He was lucky to be diagnosed. He urges men to open up, all on a crusade
to talk about it, to get checked.
Four-time Logie winner Hugh Sheridan dedicates his current show to his dad Dennis, who died of prostate cancer.
To honour him, but I also challenge everyone in the audience, have you had your prostate checked,
But alarming test levels in the inner suburbs. East Melbourne, 42% below the Australian average. Fitzroy, 38% below it. St Kilda, 36% below.
During COVID, there was a sharp decline in people getting tested, and it hasn't quite recovered.
Nigel McBride's doctor sent his blood for screening. It uncovered cancer. He's now in remission.
I brought in flowers for her. I said to her, thank you for saving my life.
Gasman founder Gary Austin died of the disease. Today, the company donated $100,000 for research and awareness.
It's much better to talk about it than to go to your funeral.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
The Duchess of Sussex has made a rare television appearance to promote her new lifestyle series. She didn't air any royal grievances, but shared an insight into life married to a prince.
Making her first talk show appearance in more than 3 years. The Duchess of Sussex sat down with host Drew Barrymore.
I'm such a warm person and I love affection.
During their chat on the couch, Prince Harry, who Meghan calls H, was a hot topic.
I did not expect to meet H and for this to be our love story. And, I'm very lucky. And he's an amazing father.
In keeping with the theme of her new lifestyle show, Meghan jumped into the kitchen.
And then you put your thumbprint in, which is what makes it a fun group activity.
To bake cookies for the audience. Revealing Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet helped bake this batch. Meghan telling the host her little royals still sometimes speak like their dad.
Some of the words that they still say with a British accent, so they'll say zebra, because they have very American accents, but they say words that are just like him.
The biggest surprise was for Meghan when Barrymore pulled out a photo of Princess Diana, revealing she'd met Harry's mother when she was 7 years old.
It was the honour of my life.
In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Thousands gathered at the Convention Centre today to celebrate International Women's Day. The event was hosted by 7's senior reporter Melina Saris, with author and former Miss Universe Australia Maria Thattel the guest speaker.
I was only the third woman of colour in 69 years, and like we heard from the women before, it's because of the second and the first. And I'm so grateful because that representation showed me what's possible.
This year's theme is Accelerate Action. The countdown is on to tonight's AFL season opener, returning to Beck Maddern inside the SCG, and Beck, the footy's back.
It certainly is, Peter. After a long, hot summer, the time for talking is over. After the break, we'll have the latest from both camps ahead of this blockbuster opening round clash. Also ahead tonight, Craig McRae's take on the whole new version of Collingwood. A prized young tiger preparing to take the AFL by storm. And a reason to always look on the bright side ahead of the All-Star Mile. Well, welcome back to the SCG, where shortly the 2025 AFL season will officially get underway. Now, earlier the Hawks had a jumper presentation for their debutants defenders Tom Barrass and Josh Battle. They were last year's must-see team, and tonight they can make an early statement against the 2024 grand finalists. While it's certainly been a rollercoaster ride for the Swans in the build-up, with new coach Dean Cox taking over from John Longmire. Plus, they are juggling injuries to stars Errol Golden, Callum Mills and Logan McDonald. And for the very latest at ground level tonight, let's get straight to Xander Maguire. Hi to you again, Xander. The final teams are locked away.
The final teams are locked away for the first game of the year back, and I can tell you there are no late changes, so those teams will go in as named. Debutant Tom Hanley, he will go in as the sub for the Swans, while it's going to be Sam Frost, the key defender, an unusual choice as the sub for the Hawks. But Hanley, he's not the only debutant, as you just alluded to, Beck. It's Dean Cox's first game in the big chair, while those two club debutants in Josh Battle and, of course, Tom Barrass, they pull on the brown and gold for the first time. I spoke to both camps about them a short time ago.
When a club changes their senior coach, that's a seismic shift, and obviously Dean's taken reins of the senior team, and he's been really impressive in his first pre-season, and very excited about tonight.
We got a little glimpse of it down in Tassie last week, but two really quality professional players, but two quality humans as well, so they've fitted in really well, and I'm excited to see them pull on the jumper for the first time. Sis has done a fair bit of work down back, so I think that's one of the strengths of our team, is that potentially we could look to move him if the game needs it, or if we just want to change something up.
Now, the biggest question for the Hawks in the off-season is, of course, that injury crisis that they've been going through. What are they going to do in their forward line without Mitch Lewis and Cal Shadir, the two key forwards? Well, I can tell you tonight that the solution that we're likely to see is a trio of defenders. That's Blake Hardwick, James Sicily, and most surprisingly, we're likely to see Josh Battle as well in the Hawks forward line at some point in the first few rounds of the season. It's going to be a fascinating to watch to see what the man they call the genius Sam Mitchell does, Beck.
Okay, a lot to look out for. Thank you very much, Xander Maguire. We'll see you in the broadcast a little later. Well, Craig McRae has warned there'll be a fresh look to Collingwood. Kate Massey has the details for us. Hi, Kate. They'll get a look at some fresh faces on Sunday.
Well, Beck, some new faces and a new attitude for the 2023 Premiers. Tim Membry and Harry Perryman will debut in the Pies side. There's just missing Jordan De Goey and Dan Houston from their best 23. Houston is still suspended. He can play next week. Collingwood will take all three emergencies in Lockie Sullivan, Will Parker and Billy Frampton to account for the weather. Now, Craig McRae is leaving their 2023 Premiership behind them as they look to get back in the flag race.
Preparing for the conditions, GWS are soaking wet, while in Melbourne, the Pies are still soaking up the sun.
We threw a couple of wet balls in there for a couple of drills. It's sort of somewhat prepping for it, but a game style is somewhat territory based, and when it's wet weather, really territory is what you're aiming for.
There's a change in seasons internally at Collingwood. Craig McRae not using their premiership win of 2023 for inspiration.
We're keen to create a whole new version of us, and a whole different feel and a whole different energy from different players to, somewhat of our system may remain the same, but what's going forward won't be on the basis of recapturing anything.
Jordan De Goey tracking well from knee bruising. The Pies hoping he's available as early as next week.
We want to make sure that Geordie gets a power of work into those legs of his. Last year we learnt some good lessons putting players out to play that were fit to play but not fit to perform. And Geordie will be fit to perform when he's available.
But this weekend, there's no surprises who the Giants are targeting.
Nick's probably the best player in the competition, so he's an outstanding player. He's a great contributor to the way they want to play. He's super important to them, so he's certainly one that we'll look very closely at, and Toby's the obvious one to go to him.
Super competitive team, hard to beat in the home track. Got our work cut out.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
Over at Tigerland, number one pick Sam Lawler proved he's over a broken jaw and on track for a round one debut after getting through the club's intra-squad hit-house.
Lawler doesn't need much to stand out in a crowd, but wearing the fluoro non-contact cap, the 18-year-old looked lively on the burst, taking a strong diving mark before coolly converting the set shot. With any luck, he'll debut against the Blues next Thursday night. Here's proof it's better to be lucky than good. Crows ruckman Riley O'Brien stunning teammates with a rare hole-in-one. The big fella doubling down on his amazing ace, rocking up to training today, still decked out in golf kit. Craig Williams is hoping superstar Mr Brightside has an ace up his sleeve in tomorrow's All-Star Mile at Flemington.
With the Hayes boys, the way they developed him and brought him on, gave him confidence, strength, and now he's the best miler in Australia.
So Mitch, the atmosphere is certainly building here at the SCG. It's a beautiful temperature. I don't think there's any rain on the horizon. There's a little bit of a swirly wind, but I mean, bring it on, the season opener. It's going to be a classic game tonight between the Swans and the Hawks. Can't wait to get started.
Should be an absolute ripper. Thank you very much indeed, Beck. This week in our Pick in Vic segment, there's a festival in every corner of the state as we celebrate the Labor Day long weekend. Here's Bethan Yeoman.
It's a 3-day weekend and there's a big event within an hour from everyone in Victoria. Let's head west to start to the Port Fairy Folk Festival. This is a huge live music fair and Missy Higgins is the headliner this year. A very different vibe to Ballarat's Begonia Festival, a 3-day love letter to flowers. Chill Out in Daylesford is a bit of an oxymoron. It's loud and proud with drag shows, live music and theatre all weekend. Up north in the high country, there's the 49th annual Merry Jig Rodeo, a family-friendly, action-packed event. Closer to the city, the Port Phillip Muscle and Jazz Festival will take over the South Melbourne market for a 2-day seafood party. Red Hill is hosting its 97th agricultural show with all the trimmings. Or follow your nose east to Currumbara for the South Gippsland Garlic Festival, a celebration of, you guessed it, all things garlic. Just don't forget your mints.
Thank you, Beth. Jane's back now with the forecast. And Jane, what's in store for the long weekend?
Well, Mitch, good temperatures for that. We'll be in the 30s each and every day. And on tonight's bright side, how to heart check a hippo. Hello again. We've had a warm to hot day in Melbourne and there are a lot more of them in the next week. In bright sunshine and fairly light winds, the city began on 16, it reached 28.7, that was the top. Outside now, it is sitting on 25. We are set for a great Friday night, kicking off the long weekend. Outer eastern suburbs hit 32, Geelong's top 26, slightly lower than the other side of the bay as the wind is northeasterly. Patches of fog and low cloud cleared out this morning, except on the Otways. You can see it just south of Geelong there, lasting all day. Otherwise, it is sunny, warm at the coast and hot inland. We have high pressure moving from our west to our east. It is cradling the southeast of the country. This here kicks off an extended stretch of heat across the weekend and lasting for much of next week. Cyclone Alfred is finally making landfall tomorrow, likely to cross the islands off Brisbane between about 2 and 6 a.m. as a Category 2 with destructive winds, then potentially developing to a Category, dropping to a Category 1 as it moves over the mainland just north of Brisbane around Caboolture. That's between about 8 a.m. and midday tomorrow. Now, with this and after that, there is so much rain. This is at least 6 hours after landfall tomorrow night and still pouring. That rain is likely to extend down as far south as Sydney next week. But not for the footy tonight. There's just a slight chance of a shower. It's mostly dry there. Brisbane has between 50 and 250 millimetres tomorrow, then up to 130 millimetres on Sunday. Adelaide hot and sunny. Perth is milder but mostly sunny. To Victoria, there's no wet weather after patchy morning fog about the Ranges, Otways and Gippsland. A dry and sunny day, just a hint of high cloud coming in from the west. It is warm in the east, warm to hot in the west, in light to moderate northeasterly winds and afternoon coastal sea breezes. Closer in, tomorrow is very similar to today, but a few degrees hotter. Bright sunshine right across the Melbourne area in light northeasterly winds and sea breezes. The first day of the long weekend should be reaching 32 in the city. We are sunny all day. To the 8-day outlook, the heat continues, not just for a day or two, but a long stretch. This here is nearly a week with temperatures well above average. Sunday, 33, lots of sunshine sunshine. The sunshine does continue. There's just a slight chance of rain with some systems just passing through. So we rise to 32 in Melbourne tomorrow on a sunny Saturday. Now to tonight's Bright Side. Keepers always thought Felix was all heart. Now they have proof. Melbourne Zoo's young pygmy hippo has undergone his first ultrasound heart check. The good news is he's so slippery they don't need gel.
We did, however, use our big car wash brush, which we washed the underbelly of little Felix.
The vets have given Felix a clean bill of health. What a lovely way to end the working week, Mitch.
Indeed it is. Thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Friday, the 7th of March. Thanks for your company. Sunrise has special coverage of Cyclone Alfred starting at 5 a.m. We're live to Sydney next for what's now the AFL season opener. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.